Okay, go ahead and slate it.
Catherine, interview, take one. Did you hear that, Nina?
Okay, set everybody.
What event or influence as a child pointed you in the direction of a career in the arts?
I think the event that...
Sorry. Sorry, guys.
It's okay. I got it. I think there are a number of events as a child that pointed me towards a career in the arts. My father is an architect and loved to sculpt and paint as well as, on his free time. My sister was a visual artist, and she still is a visual artist, and I grew up in New York City, so there was definitely a perception that you could have a life in the arts. I think other places, maybe that's not so recognizable, but recognized. So growing up in New York City, I was surrounded by the arts, and my family as well. And I went to see the New York City Ballet do the Nutcracker when I was 7, and I saw those toy soldiers come out of the box and salute, and I fell in love. I mean, I don't know, it wasn't the Sugar Plum Fairy or any of the female dancers, it was the toy soldiers coming out of the box. So I auditioned and got into the School of American Ballet, which is the official school for the New York City Ballet, when I was 8.
You were 8.
Mm-hmm.
Besides the Tin Soldiers, what was a favorite memory of your time with the ballet?
I have so many memories of being in the New York City Ballet. I got into the company when I was 18, and I was the last dancer that George Balanchine personally picked to join the company. He came to my rehearsals and he rehearsed with me, and when growing up, from the time I was 8 years old, Mr. Balanchine, Mr. B, was this icon. He was a genius. Everything was built around him in the New York City Ballet and School of American Ballet. So having that time with him was incredibly special. He died 2 years later. And then, there were times being on stage. I think one of the best things about growing up as a ballet dancer is being surrounded by music. At School of American Ballet, we always had live music. So my whole childhood, I had live music accompanying my dancing. And then you get in the company, and all of a sudden, it's an entire orchestra. And being on stage dancing to Tchaikovsky or, Concerto Barocco is one of the most iconic Balanchine ballets where the dancers are really like notes on the page of the stage. And I definitely have some of those memories of just being in that perfect moment of the arts where it's like time and space disappear and the music is surrounding you and you're just in that place. So.
David, can we stand by for some? Let's cut for a second, guys. I just want to double check that.
You want to take 2?
Yes, you're doing great. Good job, guys.
What influenced you to move to New Mexico from New York?
So I moved to New Mexico because I was 30 years old and my career as a dancer was over. I had danced in New York City Ballet and with Twyla Tharp's company. I had left college at 18 to dance professionally, and I hadn't finished my undergraduate degree. I had no money, I had no insurance, and I thought, wow, I don't want to be this poor living in New York City. I'm going to move someplace where I can live an outdoor life, I can put myself through school, and it won't be that expensive. If I want to go to a big fancy university for graduate school, I'll do that. But at the time, I really didn't know what I wanted to do. And, I was 30 years old. And so I loved New Mexico. I had been here. I had an affinity to the place. It has so much of arts and culture. And it really drew me. So I just decided to move here.
Once you were here, what was it that inspired you to create opportunities for young people to learn and participate in the arts?
What inspired me to create opportunities for young people to participate in the arts was a real recognition of what the arts had done for me as a child. I had a really kind of chaotic childhood, and the one thing about going to ballet class was that the rules were really clear. Whereas home life was really chaotic, at ballet, you knew what you were striving for, you knew what the rules were, you knew what was expected of you. And it transformed my life. Having ballet in my life transformed my life. And it taught me discipline and focus and tenacity and I went through a period of time in my 30s of really not knowing what I wanted to do, and I was compelled to work with children and give back what had been given to me as a young artist, and what the arts can teach people about themselves, about working together, about building community, about believing in something greater than yourself. And again, the tenacity and the work ethic that it takes to be an artist, because it's never done, because you're always reiterating. And if you bring that work ethic and that process into your life, you'll be successful, because it means that you're always striving and you're always reaching.
What, as these things started to gel for you, what became your mission here?
Okay. My mission in New Mexico, well, no, that's not really what I want to say. Let's see.
We can skip that if you're not comfortable with that.
Well, yeah, mission sounds I guess.
Well,
How about this? I was really drawn to the work of Jacques D'Amboise and his work with inner city kids in New York. I danced with him in New York City Ballet, and I trained with him as a teacher. And I came out to New Mexico, and I started in one school, and I had 3 schools on the waiting list. And then I was in 3 schools, and I had 7 schools on the waiting list. And then I was in 12 schools, and I had 30 schools. And so what I realized here is that it was like, I felt like I was watering the desert, that there was so little arts education in the public schools, and particularly in communities that were isolated or rural. And that what I was bringing was a tried and true technique. Jacques D'Amboise had honed this over many years, and it also brought live music into the classroom with a pianist. And for some children, watching their progression, seeing that this arts program was the key that unlocked their learning, that unlocked their passion, that unlocked their connection to being in school, I became addicted to it, you know, and then I got so interested in what it was to build an organization. I didn't even know what a logo, how you got a logo or a board of directors. So it was this enormous learning experience for me. And then it was through National Dance Institute that I understood the impact of the arts and cultural industry in New Mexico, and realized that there wasn't a place for students in high school to go if they really wanted to pursue a career in the arts, especially if you're a rural, a person living in a rural community. You have no access to that lesson. You have no access to that community. I mean, we had people apply to New Mexico School for the Arts who had been teaching themselves on the internet how to play the piano and how to play the saxophone. I mean, never had a human being teach them, only through the internet, which is great, and some of them are quite accomplished, but I really wanted to make that kind of education available to students around the state, that you didn't have to just come from a wealthy family and have the capacity to buy after-school lessons or to go away in the summer. Those things are very expensive, but there was a vehicle for local students, and I mean local New Mexico students, to be able to enter that arts and cultural industry. And that if they didn't have a place that was serious, where they could really pursue their craft and get the kind of training they needed, they would not have an opportunity to do it.
So tell us a little bit more about your early involvement with NDI.
Hey David, I'm so sorry, the sun shifted a bit. We need to make a mic.
And I love tennis, but it's...
No, I think they made some bad decisions.
Did you play Bruce this morning, by the way?
No, I did not play.
Oh,
No.
Bruce
We're
Gelfer,
ready, David.
buddy of mine, said he was going to be playing with you today. He thought,
Oh, no. Well, I hope I wasn't someplace I was supposed to be, but no, I didn't have it on my schedule.
okay,
Okay.
we're rolling?
Okay.
Okay, how did your involvement with NDI come about?
My involvement with NDI started with Jacques D'Amboise. He was a principal dancer in the New York City Ballet, and he was just retiring when I joined the company. And I was on my way to company class, which was at the New York State Theater, now the Koch Center, whatever. And I walked past this classroom, this dance room, and there were children of every size and color and shape, and they were just dancing their hearts out, and they were sweating, and there was this guy pounding on the piano. And I thought, what is this? And I literally stopped and I watched, and I went up to Jacques and I said, what are you doing? What is this? And he said, this is National Dance Institute. This is NDI. And I said, I want to be involved. And he said, no, you're dancing. You dance, and when you're done dancing, call me. But you don't have time for this right now. And I was like, okay. And I think I was so attracted because the world of ballet is so rarefied, you know, and you have to be so skinny, and you know, it was like New York City Ballet was lily white, and here was this just incredible group of people, all different backgrounds, shapes, and sizes, and it just really drew me. So quite literally, I called him. I mean, you know, it was like 9 years later, I picked up the phone and I called him, and he said, yeah, let's do it. Come on, come join me. I'm teaching a class up in Harlem, you know, tomorrow at 10, meet me there. So I started.
And then how did it happen here?
So in 1990, Jacques d'Amboise won a MacArthur Fellowship, which is a Genius Award, and he took some of that money and he bought a second home in Santa Fe. And he immediately started raising money. I think he raised money from the realtor who sold him the house. And I was living in New York City at the time, and he said, come on out to Santa Fe. You know, we're going to do a residency out there. So I came out in 92 and 93 and worked with students in the public schools in Santa Fe, and that's how I fell in love with New Mexico and Santa Fe. So I already knew that I would like living here.
Tell us the story of creating the School for the Arts.
Oy.
The short
Let's go for it. So, all right, well, the New Mexico School for the Arts grew out of National Dance Institute. I traveled all over the state, working in communities from Dulce to Deming to Alamogordo, Roswell, Artesia, and every place I went, I saw really profoundly talented kids. I remember a little boy in Deming. We were teaching a song to be part of this assembly for NDI. And I heard this voice, and I said, who is that? Who's singing? And after the class was over, I brought the boy up to the piano, and you know, we messed around with him a little bit with the pianist. He had perfect pitch, and in this incredible instrument. And I said, honey, wow, I mean, where do you sing? And he said, I sing for my grandma in my living room. And I said, you have a really amazing instrument, and you have real talent in your ears. And he just looked at me like I was crazy. And I thought, well, where does a kid like that go? What if singing becomes a passion? What if that becomes a central part of who he is, and he has absolutely no access to the Santa Fe Opera, to the arts and cultural industry that we say is so much a part of New Mexico? How does a child like that take the first steps to enter that industry? And then the head of school for New Mexico School for the Arts is Cindy Montoya. Soon after that, her daughter grew up in National Dance Institute. And she was one of the kids who first came to the Dance Barns and was there 20 hours a week dancing. And her daughter's now a professional dancer in New York City in Steve Petronio's company. She came into my office with a group of women from Espanola, Pewaukee. Their kids were all in NDI. And she said, can NDI start a charter school? And you know, our kids are here all day long, then we have to drive up north, and then they have to do their homework, and they still have to do gym, and they can't even get out of gym even though they're dancing 20-something hours a week. Would NDI consider starting a charter school? And I brought it to the board, and we were incredibly busy at the time. We had all these different projects going, and the board said, no, you know, rightly so, that's not our work. But the idea just wouldn't go away. The idea wouldn't go away, and so I just got a group of people together, and we started exploring what these schools were like around the country and if a school like that would be feasible in New Mexico.
What work or projects are you currently most excited about? What's turning you on right now?
What's turning me on? Well, today's headlines is pretty depressing, but shake it off. So what's most exciting to me right now is creating a permanent home for New Mexico School for the Arts. In 7 short years, the school has won all kinds of awards from Newsweek and U.S. World News and Report. We got a blue ribbon this year from the federal government. Edutopia, which is George Lucas's education organization and online site, gave us an award this year as a school that works. This year's senior class is well over $6.5 million in higher education scholarships. We have a 95% graduation rate. We're one of the best success stories of a public school in New Mexico, and we need a home. And because of the way charter school legislation is, there's absolutely no bonding capacity for a charter school. Unless you're part of a school district, you have no access to bonding or public funds for facility. And we are statewide. We're this unique school. We're statewide. We have a residential program. We have kids from 40 different communities. Kids commute every day from Dixon and Espanola, Albuquerque. So we're not in any one school district, so we don't have any access to public funding. So my most passionate project right now is making this school available for the future generations of young artists in New Mexico, so that 50 years from now, it's like North Carolina School of the Arts, and people come from all over the world and want to come here, and the school's established, and it has a home.
Looking back on what you've accomplished, what gives you the most joy?
When I look back on what I've accomplished, the thing that gives me the most joy are my two boys, my two children, Elliot and William, being a mom and watching them grow and continuing to get to know them as they develop. That's probably my best accomplishment.
What's the next biggest opportunity you would like to pursue?
Well, my next biggest opportunity that I'd like to pursue is probably going to take me, another 4 or 5 years, which is getting this school established. I mean, these projects are, let's see. Establishing a nonprofit and growing it to a point where it goes from, those baby steps to an adolescent to institutionalized and strong is a 10-year at least experience. So the school is in its 7th year. I have at least 3 or 4 more years, I think, putting my effort here. I'm also on the board of Save the Children, which is an international NGO doing work in 168 countries around the world with some of our population's most vulnerable children. And so I definitely want to show up for them and help them. See my kids through college.
Catherine, interview, take 4.
Okay, last 2 questions.
Just go ahead. Yep. All right.
As soon as Phil's footsteps stop, we'll start. Okay, I think we should be able to see this. Quiet, please. Okay, what would you like to look back on in 20 years as your legacy?
I think my legacy, first and foremost, are my 2 boys and who they become as men. And then I would say impacting the arts and children in New Mexico in a positive way. I think NDI is really established. It's an incredible organization, beautifully run, strong board, great endowment, amazing work. And if I can get the New Mexico School for the Arts in that same place, then I think I will have contributed to children's lives and to the arts here in New Mexico.
Looking back on all the success and wonderful times you've had, who would you like to thank? Who do you really want to express appreciation to? I know there's probably a million people, but if you could say a few names and a few things that they did that were especially important to you, who would they be?
Well, I think growing up and wanting to be an artist, you're always looking at people ahead of you who are artists, who you want to emulate and who you adore and are inspired by. Certainly for me, there was Suzanne Farrell as a dancer. Watching her in New York City Ballet was such a gift. Melissa Hayden, who was a principal dancer, was my teacher, and she was tough as nails, and she taught me so much. And other teachers like Finus Young, and of course Jacques D'Amboise, who brought me into National Dance Institute, which changed my life, this work with children. And he's such an incredible, inspiring person. Here in New Mexico, I think it's the people that I've worked with, the leadership at Russell Baker at NDI and Cindy Montoya at the Mexico School for the Arts. Jacques once said, you know, the best thing about working in an arts organization is you have all these people who love the arts, who are willing to work for no money, who work super, super hard, and they all love this mission. It becomes like a religion to them, and you get all of that together, and it's just the most incredible working environment, and you really feel like your life has purpose, and you get to work with the most extraordinary people who share that same experience with you. And I've had that experience working at NDI and New Mexico School for the Arts of knowing that you're building something bigger than yourself and willing to put in a lot of personal sacrifice and hard work and time to make that happen. And that bonds you with that person and is really, truly inspiring because, you know, there's so much bad news in the world that it keeps you going, keeps your faith in humanity and in people going.
Wonderful. Is there anything important that we missed that you would like to make sure gets into this? We have plenty of material here.
Yeah, it's fine. I mean,
Okay.
nothing I say is going to have any impact. I just think the arts in kids' lives is so important, particularly music, and it's so sad that we don't have quality arts programming in every school for every student, because it isn't just about writing and math. And the arts really can be that piece that unlocks that learning and that desire to learn, that connection between the arts and academics. It's part of being a human being, and to not let young people grow up with that seems like a really bad investment choice, lack of investment choice.
Great. Thank you.
Okay.
Speeding.
Catherine Tour, take one.
Okay.
So Sam, should we start? Okay. Sambuco started life as a lumber yard, and this building that we're in right now dates back to the 1880s. It was the main office for the lumber yard. People came in here and they ordered their lumber, and then they took their cars and they drove through the center corridor of Sambuco to pick their lumber up. And this room that we're standing in during Joe Shep's, when he had Sambuco as a retail center, in the last rendition of it, it was opposite books. It was a bookstore. And we're turning it into an art gallery and a place to perform music. And if you look at the plan here, you'll see that we're putting in acoustical tiles. And just as we're having an art exhibit in here right now of our 10th and 11th graders, you see some fabric art behind me. It'll continue to be used as an art gallery. We'll have music concerts here, and it'll be also used as a boardroom. And then we have phase one, which is what we're in the midst of raising money for now. We'll get the school into this building with 400 children. In time, we'll be able to add media arts, meaning cinematic media arts, and creative writing and literature, and hopefully have 60 kids in residence in a dormitory on site. So that's our large dream, to turn this retail center into a vibrant, lively, full school for the arts. So now we're going to go on our tour. Right? Okay.
Are we still rolling, guys? Yeah, keep rolling.
Just want to remind everybody, you guys here.
Don't forget, Nate, we'll get inserts of her
These
pointing.
guys are talking.
Okay, that's fine. Do you want some historical footage? Hi, Scott. We're doing a little thing for the Platinum Music Awards. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Hi, how are you? You found us another $10 million. I have a good cause. You are good, thank you. So glad. These are some historical photos of Sambuco as a lumber yard. And,
Wait a second, so sorry, just footsteps.
okay.
Sorry about that.
These are historical photos of Sambuco when it was a lumber yard. You can see the office, the building that we were just in, which is historically significant. And I love this shot with the car coming through because you get to see the scale of a car and how people came and loaded up their lumber. And then in World War II, it was used as a sort of a station to grab supplies. Oh, we'll stop.
Let's just go ahead. Can we shut this door?
Hey, Scott, you guys, can we shut the door? Is that okay?
Oh, sorry. Guys.
Do you want to wait till he comes up off the stairs?
I sure will. Thank you.
Okay. Okay. In World War II, Sambuco was used as kind of a way station with materials coming in on the train and then being taken up to Los Alamos. And there's a great car that's on cinder blocks out there, and that was one of the trucks that they used to transport stuff from here up to Los Alamos. So, and now we're going to move along. This is the front of the building. If I'm going to show this, this is going to be the entrance of the building, and we're going to keep the same sort of Sambuco look. And there are a couple of really beautiful gardens that are going to be out front that are community meeting spaces. They'll be open to the public. One will be covered with trees, and the other will be a quiet sort of reflection garden as the entrance of our school. And now we're going to continue. I'll come over to you guys. We're going to continue down the corridor. Okay, come. Wait, you're supposed to be doing this with me, aren't you, David? I think down here is a great shot.
Let's have you back up a little bit so you don't so in the face.
Come on, David.
Okay.
I think down here is a really nice shot of what this corridor will be. Essentially, it's going to look a lot like it looks now. The engineering is not good here. We're going to have to rebuild the building basically with steel. Schools have a much higher level of safety than other places, and so it has to be really tight in terms of engineering and seismic controls and stuff like that. That's not the right words for it. But anyway, all of these are classrooms, and they're academic classrooms in the morning, and then in the afternoon they turn and switch into music or dance or theater or visual arts studios. Here, right here, you can see what this corridor is going to look like. With a lot of glass. These are breakout rooms. Again, every single room has a dual purpose, which is something we really wanted and worked very hard to have so that there's no wasted space. So this center corridor, we could call it the Paseo. It really will be the heart of the school. Do you want to go through the whole thing? I mean, we'll go, and then, all right, we'll do one more. We'll do one more, then we'll about face. How's that? And as I was explaining to David, all of this is going to be our warming kitchen. We won't have a cafeteria in the first phase, but we'll have a place to warm up food. Careful!
So sit down here. Yep. So let's have you step here for a second. Nate, should we just walk across and kind of get that shot coming through?
Well, this actually, I'm going to stop here and talk here for a sec.
Oh, sorry.
No, that's okay. That's okay. You ready?
Do you want me in the shot or not?
You're in it now.
Okay.
Okay. Ready? Okay. So actually, this area is going to be our student entrance. Students are going to be dropped off over here, and they'll walk in here. This wall won't be here, and this is actually, you'll be able to look in to see our media center, our library and media center. And then right behind it is all of our music classrooms. We have an orchestral rehearsal room, percussion rehearsal, vocal, instrumental, piano lab, and then lots of little breakout practice rooms. And then, of course, a music library and the music director's office. So this is going to be a beautiful entrance. It doesn't look so beautiful right now, but it will be. It'll be our main student entrance because students will be dropped off right here. So I'm not going to go into borders, okay?
So I think that's, I think we're going.
That's plenty, right?
Yeah, let's go ahead and cut.
And these are our visual arts studios. We're going to raise the roof. Let me start over again. Okay, these are our visual art studios. We're going to raise the roof to get some natural light in, and this whole outdoor area will be for sculpture and making large sculptures, exhibiting sculptures. It'll also be outdoor space for our students to have outside time and exercise. We'll put a basketball hoop out there, but this leads out to a big, large, open patio, and I think this is one of the most sort of beautiful areas of the school.
Awesome.